I couldn't even say the word for a while, but how long have you been a widow? So if someone had been a widow more than like 4 years, I wanted to know what they were like now, because I wanted to have hope that there was going to be, I don't know, a reason to get out from under all of this grief. Hey, my name is Laurin Floyd Turner, and this is Lyric in Motion. Welcome to Lyric in Motion. I am your host, Laurin Floyd Turner, and I hope that you got to see last week's episode featuring Benjamin Kentish. We had a great conversation talking about music, grief, healing. He's actually got a hospice musical that he calls Life Review, and it's just fascinating talking with him. And it also reminded me of my own grief journey. And I thought that maybe I would do this episode and share some of my stories. I have been in the entertainment business for so long, so obviously singing and dancing has been so much a part of healing from a lot of things that I've gone through, whether it's been songwriting or choreographing dances. And I know that hearing other people's stories will definitely help you not feel alone, and especially help if you are going through something yourself. So I hope that you will stick with me for this episode. I know you'll get to know me better. Instead of as a performer, a lot of personal things. But I don't know. I think it's necessary to get vulnerable sometimes. And again, if I can help someone, there's been so many people that have helped me through so many aspects of my life. So I just want to give back if I can. So here we go. I'm going to begin with my first story. It was years ago, and I was performing in a show called American Big Band. It toured all around the States, and it was a Sunday matinee. And I got to sing a little bit in the show, but I was mainly a featured dancer I had this great partner named Tom Porras. And I remember that day, for some reason, I was just feeling very anxious. And I didn't know why, but during intermission, I remember seeing that I had a call from a family member, and I wasn't able to get it at the time, but I just knew something wasn't right. And I was in the wings with my dance partner, literally about to go on and do this great lyrical dance that we always did in the show. And I looked at him and I said, I'm having a bad feeling. I've got a phone call and I know something's going on with my family, but I don't know what it is. And I don't usually get a sixth sense about anything, but this particular day, it just didn't feel right. And of course, he acknowledged it. And we went out, we did our dance, we came back. And after the show, I called home and I found out that my dad had been rushed to the hospital, and they were thinking he was having a heart attack. And you have to understand, both of my parents have been so supportive and instrumental in me being in this business. And my dad, I remember, oh my gosh, when I was little, he really supported me singing and dancing. And he would, when I was a teen, he even put a band together and I sang in the band. But he would give me the songs and he would make me go write out the lyrics, learn the lyrics. And then he taught me how important it was to connect to your audience. And when you learn the song, maybe you move a little bit. So he just really taught me a lot about performing, connection with an audience, and everything that I continue to teach people today. And he was such a supporter because he was a singer too. He was a great singer. And I am very blessed that my parents, both of them, supported what I did, singing and dancing. But I remember I went home and they said, well, he's been rushed to the hospital. He's had a heart attack. And, we think it's going to be okay. Maybe he just needs an operation or something. And then I'm on the tour bus. After the show, we're on the tour bus. We're about to head to our next place. And I get a call from my brother, and he said he didn't make it. And I remember just collapsing. And, and I had a lot of my friends there that really helped support me. But I your parents are never going to die. I mean, I know we all think about that, right? But I don't know. At that moment, I was shattered. After going home, you deal with the funeral, deal with everything. I mean, it was a heart attack. So it was quick, and I didn't ever get to see him. I mean, the last conversation, this was in January, was in December. And I just remember I was such in shock, but I remember going right back to work. Like everything was about work. I started focusing on just performing. And because he was such an influence in my performing life and a lot of things I got to do, I was so proud to do and show him. And of course, my mother too. There was a little piece of me that was lost now, because I figured out there was a lot of things I did for them to be able to see in my performing career. And I don't know. I just, obviously these kind of things, they pop back up to you, and then you get tongue tied because there's so much to think about. But with my dad, I think I got back into my work. I was just too overwhelmed, too in shock. Years later, I was married to this guy called Joey Floyd. He was a great musician. He played with Toby Keith, and I had done I did a tour as a backup singer with Toby Keith, and we met, and we ended up getting married. And Joey worked for him. He worked for Willie Nelson. In fact, he played Willie Nelson's son in the movie Honeysuckle Rose, which is a long time ago. So with Joey, it was all about performance and everything, but he got diagnosed with throat cancer. And at the time, everything's always optimistic. You'll get treatments and you'll be fine. And as that journey went on, I definitely have a new appreciation for the caretakers too. I learned a lot about myself. I learned a lot that I feared. I learned a lot that I felt like I didn't do enough. There was just a whole nother aspect of our life, of our marriage, with him getting that diagnosis. But I was there for his treatments. I was there for everything. And as things, unfortunately, were not getting better, he ended up going in the hospital. We had to call in hospice. And, I think that there's so much I've learned about all of this journey, but, hospice became, to me, angels on earth. I have such great respect for hospice. And you do learn that hospice doesn't mean that someone's going to pass immediately. I mean, you can get out of hospice. You can also live with hospice for a long time. But what they did for Joey is they made him comfortable, and they gave him dignity when he passed. I just really have a lot of great respect for hospice. And, when he passed, I think my dad passed so quickly. It was such a different feeling than when you're with someone in their journey and you're with them when they actually go. And I think then it was just a totally different feeling. But your whole world, again, changes. This person you're married to, your whole life as you know it is about to change forever. You as a person, I'd already lost a little piece of my heart, I felt like, with my dad. But then, oh my gosh, this was supposed to happen when you're really, really a lot older and you've lived a lot of life. And, he was really young. And I was definitely just numb. I just was numb for a long time. All the things that start happening, of course, everybody's there right when it happens. And I always tell people now, check on people months later, when everything happens. And I'm very guilty of this too. I even today, when people lose somebody, I don't even know what I need to say, but I've been through it. And I know that the reality doesn't hit until later too. I mean, I think I stayed numb for years, but the reality months later, because you're dealing not only with their passing, and then you're all of a sudden having to take care of all these logistic things, and then you're left with all these emotions you don't know how to handle. I remember liking silence, and I was like, that's weird, because I always had the TV on or something, so now everything, I needed silence. I just kind of stopped in there, and then I needed to understand every emotion I was going through, because I would be really sad, but then I'd get really mad. So all these phases that they talk about in grief are true. They're true. not only thinking of things that maybe weren't even settled when you were married, maybe there were things y'all went through that now you don't have answers to. There's just so much that happens. And I would say that anyone going through that part, don't rush into things. I don't judge anybody for how they handle it, though, because it's a unique journey. You realize that there's so many more people going through it than you think, because you think it's only happening to you at the time. But you just need to take some time, And I think with Joey's passing, I grew so much through those years. It's been 10 years since he passed. The growth, the emotions, everything I went through, I wouldn't change that part of it. Sometimes you have a choice. I can either just stay in the darkness over here and feel like I don't ever want to do anything again, or my personality is more about finding the light and the hope. So that's what I was trying to do. I remember going to counseling, and absolutely go to counseling, do whatever you can do to help you get through the minutes and the hours of a day, honestly. But I also didn't want to there was a group therapy thing. I didn't want to be around a lot of people that were so sad. I almost wanted to see, how long have you been, I couldn't even say the word for a while, but how long have you been a widow? So if someone had been a widow more than like 4 years, I wanted to know what they were like now, because I wanted to have hope that there was going to be, I don't know, a reason to get out from under all of this grief. So I did that. I just went on a journey about finding out more about me, knowing it was okay to feel what I can feel. And honestly, I can say that right now, right? 10 years later, it's a lot different, but there's been so much that you go through. I wrote songs. I didn't care about if they were good or bad. They were just my feelings. And yeah, they're out there. I remember one of them was, help me make it through another day. And the first line is strong. What the hell does that mean? That I can get out of bed and fight from crumbling? And what was interesting is everybody was always like, you're so strong. And I'm like, what do you mean? There were times that, as an entertainer, I think you also put on this front. It's almost like being an actor, singer, dancer. When you get on stage, it's almost like you're yourself, but you're kind of become something else, and you put it out there on the stage. I think that that's kind of all I knew how to do with my emotions. I have learned to share my emotions, but that's very vulnerable, and that was really hard for me. But I used to really mask it. And if you don't deal with that, then that keeps you stuck as well. And if you're still on this earth, I would say you have to keep moving forward. And those days can be really hard. And sometimes you'll feel guilty if you have a good day. And I say, go with a good day. Because it's going to be a lifelong change in you. And it's a lifelong, balance of being triggered with some of the memories that you have with people that have passed. And that's okay. But I think it took me like 7 years or so before I really honestly felt back to some kind of my new normal. And I did end up meeting somebody, and they are great. And I've been married now for almost 3 years. I needed to get to know me again. I needed to go through some hardships before I felt like that was going to happen, but it did. And I'm able to still, if I have triggering moments, I'm still able to talk about them. I'm able to talk about that person, and that's very important. And that's that. When I was going through with when Joey passed, there's a whole book on what you go through, okay? And that's a whole nother episode. But we had a mutual friend. He was a songwriter, and he used to check on me. And he would be like, hey, kid, how you doing? And hey, you want to write today? And I started writing with him. And Rick Tiger is his name, and he has so many great songs. He's such a great storyteller. But his friendship really helped me write new stuff, continue that healing journey. And, back in the pandemic, unfortunately, he was one of the ones who got COVID. and he got sick. He was in the hospital, and I remember texting with him. And the last song that we wrote, and we wrote it with another friend, Jeff Winex, and it's called You're Not Alone. And I remember I was texting with him, and I sent him the song, and he's like, oh, it's a great song. And he went on to say, I'm not scared of whatever happens, because he was an extremely faithful guy too. And then unfortunately, he didn't make it. And I remember going, God, what is going on? This is yet another person in my life that was, hey, listen, he was that way for so many people too, not just me. He really knew how to support and lift up and write great songs. And how could he just be gone? And I thought about his wife, Joyce, who was is such a dear soul. I knew what she was going through, and I still wasn't sure what I was going to say. How do I help make this okay? And I look back on all those times, and I've got songs out. There's one that he and I wrote called, It's Going to Be a Good Day. And I remember those times so clearly. And I look back on all, my dad's heart attack really quick, me working, Joey's death, and me stopping, and this whole grief journey of what am I going to do now? How does all this play out? When do I let go of his truck? Do I move out of my house? What about his clothes? To Rick, that support that was getting me back into kind of finding my voice again, literally finding my voice again, helping this healing journey with all these great songs that he and I were writing. And all I could do was pull from the songs, the dance, allow myself to feel whatever I needed to feel, take one day at a time, and still put on this sometimes front of being okay and ready to go. And all I can say is, I believe you have to have every emotion. It is okay to talk about it. It is okay to have a bad day and not want to go anywhere and stay in bed all day. That's all part of the process. But I do encourage you to find tools. Like if you have a friend that you can talk to, obviously that's one of them. But I was even looking into what is something I've never done before that I can go do just to get my mind off of feeling like my life is not going anywhere anymore, or it's changed so much that I can't handle it. And I think that this was what entertainment does, right? You have, even if you're not in entertainment, most people have a love of it. Most people will put on music that makes them feel something. Most people will go out and socialize and dance. So I think that the arts and being in it absolutely has been a healer for me. I was also thinking about when people have mentors or people that pass away, someone that really supported them, made them feel seen, made them feel like they had something to really offer. And I've had several of those people, but recently there was a guy that I worked with, and I worked with him at a company called Matt Davenport Productions, and he was a writer-director, and many times he may write and direct a show, and then I would be one of the choreographers on it. And what I loved is that he would ask my opinion. What do you think of this? What do you think of this song? Do you have any visions yourself of what maybe you would want the dancers to do? And I love that we collaborated. I love that it made me more excited about the project. It made me feel supported. It gave me more confidence. And, he ended up going on and helping so many other performers. He went and the last place that he was at was the Augusta Players in Augusta, Georgia. And he made such an impact on all of those that he worked with in such a positive way. He passed away last year at a very young age. he had some heart issues and he had a stroke. And I think about the conversations that we would have. He would call, we'd always have this in-depth conversations about theater and music. And one of the last conversations we actually had was about the responsibilities that now we have. So just being a performer and just going into work and doing a show, wouldn't that be nice right now? Because being a leader, being someone who has to, oh gosh, he ran a theater company. So there's so many more aspects that you would have to do that, and me also being a choreographer and having and casting and all these other elements that go along with entertainment. We love these too. We love it. But we were like, wouldn't it be nice just to go into work right now? Just, I don't know, sing and dance and then leave. And I think, I'm so grateful for knowing him and him giving me the opportunity to really thrive when I was just starting out really with choreography. And his name was Scott Seidel. I don't know if I mentioned that yet, but all that knew him gained some kind of support like that. He really motivated. And I know that that's what I want to do. I want to be able to motivate people and inspire and help them be the best that they can be. And I'm so thankful that I've had mentors and support in my life that have taught me that. It's really sad when they leave, but it's such a gift that you get. So for any of you out there who have a mentor and are learning so much, don't take that for granted. Embrace it. Talking to you today about grief, and I feel like sometimes I can just talk like nonchalant about all the many years of grief I've gone through, but I think it's because I've gone through that. It's a little bit easier to talk about now. And I do have some blogs and some other stuff that I can absolutely put on my stand store and let you see really what I was feeling. I know that I did a series called Good Grief, and I just talked about why I wrote certain songs and gave a little bit of a story about what was going on at that time. And some of that is on YouTube. And if any of that would help you, I hope that you'll look into it. I think we're in a time where, the arts can really give us an escape, whether it's listening to music, seeing a show, seeing a movie, anything that's like that. We kind of get an escape. And I feel grateful that I've had music in my life for that reason. And that I'm able to hopefully connect with others through what I create. So I want to thank you for listening, and I can't wait to see you again on another episode of Lyric in Motion. Thank you for watching Lyric in Motion. Please like and subscribe to our channel. We have so many new episodes to come out, and join our community of creatives. We're based out of Nashville. I am Laurin Floyd Turner, your host, and I can't wait to share more of Lyric in Motion.